I was just trying to scare the thief away, but suddenly, when the doorbell rang, I got startled and pulled the trigger. My wife rushed into the living room and turned on the lights. I saw the stranger I'd shot, blood pouring from his eyes. My hands were shaking. Shortly after, the police arrived. The sheriff recognized the intruder as a wanted criminal named Freddy. He told me not to worry, it was clearly self-defense. To close the case, I needed to go down to the station and give my statement. Sitting in the back of the police car, I couldn't believe I'd actually killed someone. When I got home, my wife and I collapsed on the floor, staring at the blood on the wall, not knowing what to do. Eventually, we started cleaning up the bloodstains. By morning, the whole town had heard what happened. The sheriff told me that Freddy would be buried the next day, but I couldn't help wondering, did he have any family? The sheriff said he had a father who was serving time in prison, but here's the thing. His father was being released today. Right then, I started to feel uneasy, worried about potential retaliation from his father. I had all the locks on our doors replaced with heavy-duty ones, but after receiving a call from an unknown number, I became nervous. The person on the other end didn't say a word. I was convinced it was the dead man's father. Out of fear, I didn't sleep at all that night. I sat in the living room, staying alert until dawn. The next morning, I decided to go to the cemetery to see Freddy's grave, but as I sat in my car, an old man suddenly appeared beside the window. I knew it had to be Freddy's father, fresh out of prison. What he said next absolutely terrified me. I immediately drove to pick up my son from school, then went straight to the sheriff and begged him to arrest the man, but the sheriff said without evidence, there was nothing he could do. After leaving the station, I took my wife and son home, but when we got to the front door, I noticed our lock had been forced open. After I got back in the car. What? Oh my gosh! I told my wife to take our son to the police station while I grabbed a tool from the trunk and went inside to check things out. At first I didn't see anyone, but when I walked into my son's bedroom, I found a bullet on the floor. Following the trail, I discovered a stuffed animal with its eye gouged out. Then another bullet and another. The police arrived quickly. Now we had evidence. They assigned officers to secretly protect us and left one cop stationed inside the house. But I still couldn't sleep. I went downstairs for a glass of milk. And when I returned to the bedroom to try to rest, Freddy's father was standing right beside my son's bed. When I heard strange noises again, I went back downstairs to investigate. The attic entrance was wide open. Kevin? He's in the fucking house. He's in the goddamn house. Go, go, go! I slammed against my son's bedroom door with all my strength. By the time I got in, the old man had already escaped through the window, but because of the heavy rain, the officers searching outside couldn't find any traces of him. The next morning, I got a call from the sheriff. He said they'd caught the old man and were about to send him to prison. I finally felt relieved, thinking the danger had passed. I headed to the station in high spirits, but after finishing my statement, I noticed wanted posters on the wall. When I saw Freddy's name, I stepped closer to take a look. To my shock, this Freddy wasn't the man I'd shot that night. I showed the poster to the sheriff and asked him what was going on, but he insisted this was the same person I'd shot. That is not the guy. He said I was probably too stressed and my memory had gotten fuzzy. Before I could get a clear explanation, the sheriff rushed me out of the station, but I knew I hadn't misremembered. That evening, I went back to the station to ask more questions. That's when I saw the sheriff and his men loading the old man into a car. They'd already sent him to prison. After thinking it over, I got in my car and followed them. They drove to a spot near some railroad tracks and injected the old man with a sedative, then laid him down on the tracks. They'd even staged the scene to make it look like he'd passed out drunk. Watching this unfold, I was completely stunned. If I hadn't actually killed Freddy, why were they framing me for it? Why were they trying to get rid of Freddy's father? Before I could process what was happening, I heard the train approaching. After a moment's hesitation, I needed to know the truth, so I rushed out to save the old man.